Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. All right, folks. Friday, May 16th, 2014 is the date today. Markets are flat on the day. Right now, we see the NASDAQ slightly lower, down 5, Dow up 11, S&P up 1.5. So, again, very quiet day so far today. If you could see yesterday, we kind of had that big drop culminating with around a noon bottom. And then the rest of the day we floated sideways to up. Today we retraced, but notice how we never took out the lows from yesterday. So that was a little bit of a strong signal for me. I also told the intraday stock chat to watch for the upside as we get into lunchtime. And it was funny because we saw this nice green candle here, and as soon as I saw that, especially coming into the 11 o'clock time frame, it was a no-brainer we'd head up, even though you had the moving averages right here. And I said to them, I said, listen, you got to have a little bit of a positive bias here. You'll get above and you'll float up just a little bit. So that's what we're doing right now. Markets, again, are flat. SPY up 1 penny on the day. Now, the big question will be, how do we end the day? Will the market be able to hold these levels and not see any kind of end-of-day profit-taking, selling? Those type of things we'll be watching very closely. So, where do we go next week? I mean, ultimately, I think there's more downside to go. Will it be choppy, though? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of chop out there, and I think we should all anticipate that happening. So just be aware of that. I do think that that is a fair possibility, and it is something I'm kind of keeping an eye on here as we continue to rotate through things. All right, couple other things to go on over here. Number one, if we go to the dollar chart, let's take a look at the UUP. Dollar's basically flat, and again, this is the dollar chart, the UUP ETF, and that is not doing anything. If we look at gold, gold is slightly lower. After a couple early week pops, gold has retraced back down. I actually have a macro long-term bearish view on gold. If you look at the daily chart, I mean, there's no other way to take it. Absolutely bearish. And again, look at this. Anytime you have a big drop like this and then you chop sideways like that, it's basically what we call an in spirit of bearish consolidation pattern, and it should lead to a breakdown. So I'm anticipating, again, while you'll see short-term pops on gold, I'm not saying you're not going to see an update on gold, even a decent update here and there, but the fact is, as long as you stay between this low and this high, and that's what you always look for, by the way. When you have a big move down, the first bounce you get, that's your break point. So as long as you kind of stay right around here or to this high, it's considered bearish. If you were to break above this high, then it would negate the bearishness. All right, if you break below this low right here, well, guess what? Then the bearish flag is playing out. So these type of things you want to really pay attention to in my book. And again, you have to think the GLD is a macro bearish chart pattern, which tells us that over the next month or so, you should see more downside. Another chart that I think is very intriguing here is this GDX, which is the gold miners chart. Very nice consolidation. And you can make a case that this is just borderline breakdown as well. All three moving averages above current price. Same general chart as the GLD, but even a little nicer, in my opinion, to the downside. So really what you're looking for here and what I would expect next week, I actually think next week might be the week that the GDX breaks down here, maybe even the GLD, and we could be looking at some nice bearish action there. Okay, so that's what we're seeing there. JP Morgan Chase today down about 40 cents. That stock just continues to get walloped. I mean, look at the market. If we flip over to the spiders chart, I have a lot of lines on the spiders chart, but you can see generally, I mean, here's a low, we came up, we pulled back, made a higher low, went up here, made a higher high. Now we're pulling back a little bit. I mean, it's been a nice pullback the last few days, but if you look at the chart here and then compare it to the JP Morgan chart, I mean, this is just an ugly scenario. Look at how ugly this chart is recently to the spiders, to the S&P 500, to the Dow, whatever you want to compare it to. And you might say, well, why is JPM underperforming? It's usually a leader. Well, the answer is very simple. Look at interest rates. Look at the 10-year. 10-year keeps going lower. That's bad for banks. That means less interest being charged on loans. And sure enough, this stock is making new short-term lows here. Where's this thing going? Let's take a look here. Let me just zoom out on the chart. Take a little bit of a gander here. Wow. I actually think you're probably headed here. So normally you'd look for like this upsloping trend line, but we busted through that on this gap down right here, so that's been broken. And at this stage of the game, you have to think, you have to think this is going to head lower pretty precipitously too. So I would definitely now at this stage be looking for the 50-ish, 51-ish level. I might even look for a pierce of the even number of 50 before I take another long on JPM. That's an ugly, ugly chart there. All right, so nice action there. And again, as a trader and a swing trader, I couldn't care less what JPM does as long as I can read it appropriately. So if I'm reading it appropriately, then there's money to be made there. And that's what we try to do here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Just literally neither be bullish or bearish, but just look at the chart and say, what's the chart telling us? And here in this situation, it's a great example. Chart's telling us lower action and to not really get on the long side of this until it gets down to about 50, which is another $3 drop. All right, a couple other stocks out there. Goldman Sachs also under a little bit of pressure, not as much as JPM. If we take a look at Apple today, AAPL, Apple's chart just choppy sideways. I mean, over the longer term, as this 20 slopes up, this actually is considered bullish consolidation, so it is worth watching here in the short term. I wouldn't be surprised to see Apple move higher. I really wouldn't. Also, one thing that I pointed out yesterday that I thought was fascinating was that the NASDAQ, which fell yesterday with the Dow and the S&P, was basically in line. That's one of the first times we've seen a day where all indexes are red or green, and the NASDAQ hasn't been lagging humongously. So just something to kind of monitor there, but something very, very interesting. Let's take a look at Chevron today, and you can see Chevron continues to be down just a little bit today, just like the markets are. Well, markets are actually flat, so this is actually showing a little weakness and continuation to the downside. Some other trades that I continue to hold, you can see DuPont had a great fall yesterday, but bounced off the lows just a little bit, and Hewlett-Packard continues to be weak, but has to break this 50 MA. You can see that 50 MA right there. I did take more profits on trades today. For those of you in the research center, I took the rest of my IWM off the table for about a 5.5% gain. So again, another winner in the research center, 5.5% gain. And that's coming off earlier this week. Took off WHR for a nice gain as well on that collapse. And you can see WHR actually put in a little of a short-term bottoming tail right here. It's kind of holding steady today, but might get a little bit of a short-term bounce. And then I think you can reshort WHR very easily. Okay? So we'll watch that. Baidu, these Chinese stocks are acting a little on the weak side. You can see Baidu, BIDU down about $1.45. These stocks were stronger yesterday. Sina today just down 7 cents. Sina might be trying to put in a bottom. It's a hard read right now because you still have the 20 sloping down and you kind of are going sideways, which could be slightly bearish. But I have to say, I'm keeping a close eye on this stock, because these tails here show us that buyers are willing to step up down here and buy it up. And you can see even the last 2 days here, let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see even the last 2 days right here, you had buyers coming and pushing it up even when the market was down a lot yesterday. Here's a nice tail, here's another one, here's another one. You can see a gap down here, push up. So someone's buying this, or large institutions are definitely accumulating Sina down in this range. Just be interesting to see in the coming days if it continues, especially if the market stays weak. So just something I'm paying attention to in the short term. All right, so I'll watch that very closely here, guys, and let me just see what else we have on the radar. I think that's about it today. Qualcomm today taking a little bit of a drop, down 80 cents. I shorted Qualcomm earlier this week in the money, just a little bit on that. And again, that looks like a beautiful move to the downside is coming around the pipeline. All right, on that note, folks, I'm going to bid you farewell. But again, just going back to the spiders, let's flip back to the intraday and just do one last touch-up of what we're seeing here. Markets are actually doing intraday bullish consolidation here, so that's short-term bullish. Markets can break above yesterday's high here. You should have a nice little move up. I would say potentially maybe back to 188 would be your short-term upside potential. And again, you are having bullish consolidation here. As long as you stay above these moving averages and go sideways, look for a little bit of a move up later. If by chance you start to dip and close below these moving averages, then the market could seriously sell off into the end of the day. Right now, I'm going to give the market a neutral to positive bias into the end of the day. And again, on the radio show this weekend, we'll discuss a lot of what the market's doing, what it's setting up for, and all that kind of stuff. Come to join us here. InTheMoneyStocks.com is the name of the website. Join the Research Center, which is our service that offers you swing trade alerts, investment ideas, videos, market reports, live broadcasts where you can ask questions and see our live charts. All that in the Research Center. Take the 7-day free trial. Take care, guys.